I think it's important to understand that the UAE-Saudi alliance was born out of crises. It was born out of an environment in which Saudi Arabia was believed it was facing an existential threat in the Arab Spring, and the UAE deployed all its resources to reinforce Saudi's bid to contain it. When Saudi Arabia intervened in Yemen in order to prevent Iran being surrounded by Iranian influence, Iraq to the north, Iran mainland to the east, Houthis to the south, the UAE deployed all its resources to facilitate or assist Saudi Arabia's intervention. When it came to the succession struggle and Mohammed bin Salman ousted Washington favorite Mohammed bin Nayef, the UAE deployed its resources to convince Washington that bin Salman was the better choice than Mohammed bin Nayef. In other words, the UAE has been there for Saudi Arabia as it has faced crisis after crisis in this very difficult period. However, the UAE has not done this for altruistic reasons. The UAE has taken maximum advantage of Saudi Arabia's weakness. It has allowed Saudi Arabia to take the bulk of the PR backlash over the intervention in Yemen, while it has quietly expanded its maritime influence, supported the southern separatists at the expense of the Saudi-backed internationally recognized government, and forced the status quo whereby Saudi is now forced to consider accepting a northern Yemen ruled by the Houthis, which is the very scenario that it intervened to prevent in the first place. When it comes to Israel, the UAE has sought to use Saudi Arabia as a bargaining chip to increase its influence in the White House by coaxing and pushing bin Salman towards normalization, knowing full well that Saudi has far more to lose than the UAE and that such a normalization would annihilate its soft power in the Muslim world. The UAE has pushed bin Salman to do it on the basis that this is the only way to insulate himself from international backlash and against an antagonistic Biden administration, despite the fact that there are other options for Mohammed bin Salman, such as reaching out to Turkey and taking advantage of its dire economic crisis, and the fact that Erdogan himself is deeply worried about a Biden administration. I think the greatest tragedy in all of this is that the Saudi-UAE alliance is built on the basis that the UAE thrives at Saudi Arabia's decline. The more crises that Saudi Arabia seems to go through one after the other, the more there is sustained international pressure, the more Mohammed bin Salman throws himself at any ally that is ready to offer him a respite, whether that's the UAE or whether that's more tentatively Israel in recent times. But worst of all for Saudi Arabia is that the UAE is ready to abandon Saudi Arabia in a heartbeat, in the same way that Qatar abandoned its longtime ally Gaddafi when it felt that it could deliver a more preferable ally to power.